ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. I'm Alex.
I'm Andrew.
Great to be with you once again. Coach off last week for Thanksgiving. Actually busy at basketball
the
practice.
CEO. Yeah, well, I think I had basketball, and we had the CEO in cover. My dad's like, who was covering? I was like, that's the CEO. He's like, I thought so.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
he knows his Pittsburgh sports history, and he did a good job out there on the program. I think we're all in agreement that the Steelers season has gone into the dumpster.
Yeah, I think the truth's what was that,
11-5 or something. Something like that.
That's not going to happen.
He was calling for not happening.
Yeah.
Let's just start off with the news of the week. Bengals 41, Steelers 10, worst performance in a long time for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and offensively it was a disaster. Defensively it was a disaster.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, it was a disaster. Now you got video of Three Rivers Broadcasting's favorite linebacker not moving.
Yeah.
And I know that there were some folks out there who were like, well, he's the spy on the quarterback.
I saw that.
If they go for two, give me a break.
Right.
Give me a break.
Yeah,
that dude stood there like this the whole time on that extra point.
Yeah.
He's the only one who didn't move. Like, give me a break that they're going for two.
People you're under the microscope right now as a player that people really are watching. So, everything is going to probably be overblown in terms of effort and underblown for effort, if that makes sense.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be.
That's kind of what's happening with him.
It's going to get taken out of context. But you know what? You're a big money player on a guaranteed contract, and you're not performing to the level that everybody
10th overall draft pick
is expecting you to perform at. People are going to be screenshotting videos of you not moving on extra points.
Yeah, and I think to a bigger degree, it's more than just personnel. It goes from the top up, and this has been happening for years. The Steelers have not hit on draft picks. They've traded up to get players that they have not panned out. I continue to say this. I think Mike Tomlin is a very good NFL football coach, but I think his time in Pittsburgh should be really thought of, do we really want to keep doing this? They've won 3 playoff games over the past 10 seasons, soon to be 11. And that's not, Mike Tomlin always uses the term, the standard is the standard. That's not the standard in Pittsburgh. The standard in Pittsburgh has been, we're competing for Super Bowls every single year. The Steelers haven't won a Super Bowl since 2009?
Yeah. It was my senior year of college last time they won, 2009.
So that's been a long time.
Yeah.
That's, what is that, 17 years?
12 years.
12 years. Okay. My math.
12 years.
So you have, kids that are now going to be in middle school, going on 13 years, and they haven't experienced, a significant playoff run or anything like that.
I mean, in that perspective, look at it this way. I know Elijah's from Jersey, but let's take Elijah and Jordan, 20 and 21. They were 5-6 the last time the Steelers made a run like that. Neither one of them will have a recollection of that. Maybe Jordan being from Pittsburgh would remember the Super Bowl, like the people going crazy. It's like my first sports memory was about that age, and I actually put it up on Twitter I think 2 days ago, that the most painful burned in sports memory in my mind is the first one that I ever had, and it was Stefan Matteau scoring to beat the Devils. Matteau. I'll never forget that. It was the worst. As a young Devils fan, that's the worst memory to have. But that's around the age. So kids that are young adults, 20, 21, 22, they probably don't even remember the last Steelers Super Bowl.
Well, what they are remembering today, Steeler fans, is kind of a facade of what the Steelers actually are. And I really liked seeing guys like Ryan Clark, who were part of those Steeler teams that were the last teams that actually were scary. You didn't want to play them. The defense was ferocious. They hit hard. And Ryan Clark called out the Steelers. I don't know if you saw those clips, but on ESPN saying, I don't recognize this team, and I agree with him. This whole dynamic of Chase Claypool coming out and saying, well, the reason we're not playing well is because we don't have any music.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, that is just absolutely pathetic. It's pathetic. Who would ever think the Steelers would have players that actually think it's okay to say stuff like that? And that shows you that the culture in that locker room has really significantly shifted. And at the end of the day, Mike Tomlin is responsible for that. He's the head coach.
Well, and to me, that should be a red flag that in a way that like the coach has lost the dressing room.
Yes.
That if you've got your star kind of budding wide receiver coming out and not saying like coaches got this.
Right.
Like we're gonna do whatever coach says. It's like, no, I like I like to before the games, like we get to listen to music. I think like we should play music down at practice.
Well, you're seeing like Cam Hayward, who's kind of the last of the old guard, 32, 33 years old, getting towards the end of his career, but playing lights out. And he's saying like, basically, we're playing like shit. I mean, that's basically literally what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then you have the younger guy who's supposedly part of the new generation of Steelers saying we need more music.
See, and this is where if I was Mike Tomlin, I feel like I would have some fun with that and be like, oh, you want noise at practice? I would set up humongous speakers, and as they come out of the changing room down there on the south side, I would have it play nothing but crowd noise. And be like, you guys need noise, huh? Now you're going to get used to, because we're going to go play the Vikings in 2 weeks on the road inside a dome. Get used to the noise.
Well, I was laughing.
Like, come on, let's go.
There's a reporter from WPXI. I think she's a younger reporter on Twitter, and Doran Dickerson, who's former NFL player, does good work on the Fan. She put something up like, I just discovered the Steelers polka. You remember the Steelers polka?
Yeah, yeah. I played it the other night.
Yeah, and Doran Dickerson responded, that's what they should be playing at practice every day on loop. I think that's funny. Just keep playing it over. We're from the town. You want to hear music? Here's your music.
Here's your music. Yeah. In a way, like, yeah, that song is like synonymous now.
Yeah.
With, like, they play it on the radio before Steelers games and stuff out here. It's incredible. But yeah, if you actually listen to the words, this Steelers team could learn a lesson from that song.
Yeah.
They could. Like, we're from the town with a great football team. Yeah, not anymore.
No, it's I'm glad to see older Steelers that are part of that tradition and
not
culture
happy.
Say, that you guys are wearing our uniform, but you don't represent what Steelers are, being a Steeler is all about. And, at the end of the day, it comes down, I've said it on Twitter, it comes down to Mike Tomlin and it comes down to Kevin Colbert, the GM. They're responsible for bringing these guys in. They're responsible for the culture in the locker room. They're responsible for Ben being able to kind of just dictate what he's been able to dictate over the last couple of years. They should have cut ties with Ben probably 2 years ago and said, listen, man, just like Troy, you've come to the end of the road. Troy Polamalu was an amazing player, Hall of Fame player, but the Steelers had no qualms to finally say, you know what, Troy, you're done. You can't go at the rate we want you to go at anymore, so we're going to retire. For whatever reason, they were afraid to do that to Ben.
Yeah, I don't know if they're afraid that somebody would have picked him up as a free agent and he would have came back and beat him or something like that. Almost like a Tom Brady situation. Yeah. But I think Brady's one of those quarterbacks where like guys would take pay cuts to play with Brady. Right. I feel like I don't know if Ben's that guy. You know, like it sounds like everybody really likes Tom Brady, and people are like players are 1 foot in, 1 foot out with Roethlisberger. Yeah. Like I think they respect him, but I don't know if they necessarily they're like going to be exchanging Christmas cards like Brady and Gronkowski do. Or you see those guys hanging out all the time. But even when they were in New England, like players they would take back end contracts to play for them, but
because you knew you're going to win.
You knew you're going to win, but yeah, I think last year they still had another. It was a good regular season last year, but you could start to see the writing on the wall that like, hey, there's some kind of cracks in the armor here. Right. I know they were 12-4 and won the division, but another early exit in the playoffs at some point that needs to start not. It has to not sit well. And worth noting, too, last year didn't end well.
No. It was
they lost. The losses came in December and January, 4 of the last 5.
Yeah.
So it was not a good end to the season, and it seems to have carried
but
over.
This is something that this has been happening now. This isn't something new. I mean, this stuff started, with the days of Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders and guys that they started bringing in very talented. I mean, to me, AB's the best receiver to ever play for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Now,
no doubt.
He didn't start out as a clown and doing all this goofy crap and stuff. That kind of came as he gained more fame and notoriety. And it is what it is. But it wasn't controlled. Do you remember all the stuff in the locker room where he was doing TikToks? And,
got it.
Yeah. That is not the way you did it as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
No.
And that stuff started years ago.
Well, I think
and it's just gotten out of control.
I think some of it's become culture shift too, just in general, that I think a lot of teams are afraid to limit what those guys do because there's a perception that the more content they put out, good or bad, the better it is for the team because someone is going to laugh at it somewhere or someone's going to like it somewhere, as opposed to this, kind of. I always used to look at this. I think this is the best way I could kind of describe it. I always used to look at the Steelers as kind of like the football answer to the way Steinbrenner ran the Yankees. Like the whole with the exception of maybe Troy Polamalu, no long hair, everybody stays out of trouble kind of thing, suit and tie.
They definitely had guys that got into trouble over the years.
But that happens everywhere.
But I agree with what you're saying.
The culture they built was this we don't mess around. We're gonna hit you in the mouth and we do it a different way. And
I know who's actually adopted that now in the NFL?
Who's that?
New England Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, Belichick doesn't really
over the last 15 years. That's what he's done. Yeah. It's almost like the Steelers have gotten a little softer and he's gotten harder. And again, I know there's been a rash of injuries, this year to a host of different players across the roster. Juju, Tuitt, Watt. I believe he did COVID protocol right now. There's guys who have been.
We talked about that. I mean, that's becoming a non-story.
It is.
And, I don't know how they're going to continue to deal with this, but
stop testing.
Yeah, you just can't keep saying, guys, this guy got COVID. They're not. How many pro athletes have died of COVID right now? Zero. I mean, in terms of the NFL and all this type.
Zero.
Yeah. So. Okay, do we really need that? Does that need to be a breaking news story every day? Hey, the guy got sick. Maybe he has the flu. Maybe he has COVID, whatever. He's out this week.
I'm more interested in the uptick in cardiac incidents, but that's a topic for another time.
I'm just saying, it's. I don't want to see it anymore. I'm tired of seeing breaking news. Bob Johnson
can't play.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily. Again, I don't want to necessarily get into the politics of COVID, but yeah, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah,
if he's not playing, whatever, just strike him off the list. And the other thing, again, if you test everybody every week, eventually you're going to end up with somebody coming back positive because of the nature of what it is.
Right.
It's just and again, I'm not trying to be scientific or any of that here or political, but it's just if you test the whole team for the family of common colds, somebody going to test positive at some point in the season.
Especially in the winter.
Especially in the winter. I mean, listen, the weather turned and it ended the Riverhound season.
Yeah.
Again, and I know, and the thing is, and that's what I don't think a lot of people understand with the testing it's not testing for one specific strand of stuff. The way the test has worked is this is a family of viruses that you're testing for. So, I don't know how they manipulate it, if they manipulate it, how it works, but it was enough to end the Riverhound season. Guys are going to drop. There's going to be guys who don't play because they're sick. And maybe they're not sick, but they test positive, and you got to hold them out. This is a whole different ball game what they're doing right now. So a guy like Watt, who knows? Does he have the sniffles? Is he fine? And it was just you came back, you got to sit out. You don't know how that works. So, and again, you and I are doctors, so I'm not even going to speculate on it. But the punchline is, with or without him, there's been a rash of injuries. I think there's some locker room turmoil. I mean, it's very clear. Again, Claypool wants music at practice, like you said. That's a bit out of control for me. You're a professional athlete. Your job is to play football,
Yeah.
not to be a DJ.
Yeah.
And so you're coming off of a loss where you got clubbed. You're playing Baltimore, who's probably going to beat you
Well,
at home.
I read a stat.
and your concern is music.
Yeah, and here's the reality. We've been talking about this. I wish we could have got the truth on tonight, but the truth is a busy man. So we're gonna have to get a recording of the truth coming up here and play it during the show, because I want to hear his thoughts on some of this stuff, because his shows have been really good. If you have a chance to watch some of the wrap-up shows after the game.
I saw he just passed 9,000 followers or something. Truth is getting popular here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean he's really had some good takes on this stuff. But I put up a whole thing the other day. We had a poll up about would you rather go would you rather try to win now with Ben, and reality is you're not
going to do it, no.
Or would you rather tank for a couple of years and do what's necessary to pick up the draft picks that you need to pick up to win? The Bengals did it.
Yeah, I would sooner lose now.
I would too.
For 2 years or 3 years and maybe go 500 with the idea of we're going to get ourselves a franchise quarterback or 2 offensive tackles that we're going to build around for the next 10 years, as opposed to we're going to try to ride this out one more time when really last year or even the year before should have been the swan song for Ben.
Do you want me to read the poll and give you the results?
Let's do it.
Okay. Steelers fans, would you rather have 2 to 3 years of sub 500 football in order to land the next franchise QB, competent offensive line, or ride with Big Ben and the current ragtag crew for 2 to 3 more years and see what happens? Overwhelmingly, 2 to 3 years of sub 500 football, 69%.
There you go.
The
fan base is speaking.
Yeah, I think that's what I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I'll also say this. If you're going to do that, get rid of Kevin Colbert, because he's obviously not drafting or making the right personnel choices in order for that to happen. Look at the offensive line this year.
Yeah, it's a clean house situation.
Yes.
If you're going to do that, you have to wipe the slate clean.
And I'm willing to ride with I'll give Mike Tomlin an opportunity to rebuild the program. You know what I mean? I'll say, hey, okay, we're going to get a new GM here. Mike, you got a couple years to clean this up. And if you don't clean it up,
right, if by year
we're going to have to move on.
Yeah, if by year 3 we're not starting to turn the corner and getting back to 10, 12, 14 win seasons and winning playoff games, then I think it's time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think and he's been here for quite some time too. So I don't know if it's time to move him. I think they need to shuffle the deck. But if you clean house, maybe you clean him out too. Maybe that's something you consider. And I know that's kind of blasphemy in these parts to talk about removing Mike Tomlin as the head coach. But I think more importantly, it's a philosophical change that needs to happen necessarily than a head coaching change. I think they need to shake the deck specifically at quarterback. I think we've talked about this for a long time. It's time.
Yeah, I agree.
Time was coming, and they didn't prepare for the time to come, and now it's here.
Yep.
And they're gonna ride it out with Ben this year for better or worse. There's probably at least 4 more losses on the schedule, if not 5. So. The never had a losing season, that's in big trouble.
Which is fine. They need to never do that.
Yeah, and I think that, again, you look at the schedule, they're going to probably lose twice to the Ravens, they're probably going to lose to the Titans, and they're probably going to lose to the Chiefs. That leaves the Vikings away, which they could lose, and Cleveland at home. So, listen, you could be looking at 10 losses. You can be looking at 10 losses this year. So, and again, like you said, maybe they need that.
Yep.
Maybe it's the kick in the pants that the organization needs internally to say, well, wait a minute, something went really bad here. We got to figure this out. So the Steelers got an uphill battle the rest of the season, and I think we got to get the truth on and talk about Joey, what?
I agree.
What happened?
I agree.
What happened?
It's the truth.
I know he had a rant the other day about like
That was great.
This all went off the
Great.
tracks.
I like when he has the helmet on. That's my favorite.
Yeah, that's
part
I
of the
love. I
show.
love the helmet. Yeah, he's got like his battle gear on. I'm
Yep,
waiting
he's
for him
ready
to put
to go,
shoulder
man.
pads. He's ready to get out there and play linebacker himself. Devin Bush doesn't want to play.
Put the truth.
Put the truth in.
Alex, before we go to break here, why don't you tell us we're brought to you today, as always, on the Waste Management split screen. I know the Waste Management right now is still hiring, so this is a great time to get your career rocking. A lot of people don't think about becoming a garbage man, but the reality is their guys are paid very well, and there's a great opportunity to grow with Waste Management in all different fields, not just being a guy that picks up the trash, but also getting into management, getting into sales, getting into the ins and outs of their business. It is a great company to work for.
Yeah, listen, they're the largest garbage company in the country for a reason. They know what they're doing, and they take care of their people too. If you get in now, with the driver program, they have tuition reimbursements. You get full benefits. They take care of you over there. They have a great plan over at Waste Management for their employees. They take care of them. And listen, if you're a driver, you have a CDL, and you go work for a company like Waste Management. Yeah, it's early mornings, but in the solid waste industry, you're done at like 2:30, 3 o'clock every day. You're done. That's it. When the truck comes back to the yard, it doesn't go back out. It's it's not like you're in the wastewater septic or whatever it is. You're out. If they call you at 10 o'clock at night in the wastewater industry at a restaurant, or somebody's house septic is overflowing, you're going. But as the on-call driver in garbage, the answer is solid waste management. We'll see. We'll get it in the morning. That's how it works, just because of the driver restriction. So it's a great place to work as a driver. It's a great place to work in sales, like you said, marketing. Check them out, wastemanagementwm.com, careers.wm.com for all of that information. We, of course, want to thank Waste Management for sponsoring our coverage of the Pittsburgh City League this fall. We're going to have a call with them about basketball coming up here later this week. So we're looking forward to hopefully keeping them on board. As the next place we got to go, they're our sponsor of the day, Quick Trip IV. We got to get down there and see
we
Bo
keep
and
saying
Newman.
that.
We
I'm
keep
ready
saying
for
that.
one as basketball gets started. So
yeah, maybe we'll give Bo a call today and say, hey, what are you doing on Sunday? And we can
screw the interns. Me and you will go down.
We'll go down and do it. Yeah, listen. Jordan, she's playing basketball. Elijah doesn't want to. If he can't make it down, we'll go do it. Yeah, I want to feel good. I don't know about you, but
I'm all for it.
All right, we'll be back.
Hold on, real quick.
Okay.
I'm going to give a little teaser. When we get back from this break, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Alex having an epiphany at the last Robert Morris game. We'll talk about that when we get back right here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report.
Are you looking for a job that can turn into a career? If so, why don't you hit the road with Waste Management? Waste Management is hiring experienced and entry-level CDL truck drivers and technicians. If you're at least 18 years of age, come join our growing team and get up to a $7,000 sign-on bonus based on experience. WM offers competitive pay and industry-leading benefits, including tuition reimbursement for yourself and dependents. Start your tomorrow today. Visit WM online at careers.wm.com. Protect yours and provide for others with the Polish Falcons of America. If you could get great life insurance and make an impact in your community, why wouldn't you? You can do both by choosing the Polish Falcons of America. The PFA provides life insurance and financial services while also giving back to the people we serve by reinvesting our profits into communities. If you're thinking about life insurance, it's time to think differently. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting polishfalcons.org. Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Iron Works, for when you need it for 500 years.
All right, we're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Alex and Andrew with you. It's time to talk Pitt for better.
First, we're going to talk about your revelation.
Oh, that's right.
Here.
We got to talk about my revelation here.
You
yeah.
had an opportunity to go to Robert Morris, which I've been to a Robert Morris football game. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's even more fun when it's not 30 degrees outside, but they put a great afternoon on for fans. I love the stadium out there. Great parking. You don't have to pay for it.
Oh, you don't have to pay for it? It's great. Yeah,
You have to
it's
park on the other side of campus. They have a shuttle. So it's a lot of fun. But one of the things that Alex was under the impression all year was that we're losing our intern, Elijah.
Oh, I thought this was it.
Yep. Not knowing that due to the COVID year, all of the really every division, but particularly Division I athletes, got another year. So Elijah is going to be coming back to Robert Morris next year, and I would say he's probably. I would think I didn't follow the Colonials like I follow the Steelers, but I have to think he's probably an all-conference guy.
Coming back, he has to be, I think, in the mix to be an all-conference player next year. These teams were keying on him. And he still had a great season. And again, I thought this was his COVID year. I thought that last year, and I didn't realize that they threw the spring out.
Yeah,
that didn't count. I thought that was senior, and then this was like super senior year for those guys. But no, Elijah's coming back. This is great news for
Elijah's back here at Three Rivers Broadcasting.
Yeah.
We're hopefully going to be seeing him here in the next couple of days to help us out with some high school and college basketball coverage. But we're also going to have Elijah back for football because he's going to be coming back for a super senior year. I think he's working on his master's already.
He is.
So,
I believe he is working on his master's already over there at Robert Morris. So he's going to be back. And I went to their last game against Campbell. He had 132 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a very, very good game. And in the second half, he came out on the first drive and rushed for like 65 yards on the first drive. I mean, he was really cooking out there, and I was very impressed. And he texted me after the game. He's like, "Hey, I was looking for you. I saw the videos. When I was going on the Instagram, I saw that you were there." He's like, "Oh, sorry, I missed you." I was like, "Oh man, I had to go to Lebo Central, so I left."
I got his stats up right now here. I think this is right. I'm on Robert Morris's, or I'm on the Big South website. And it says he's played 9 games. I think they had 10.
He missed one because of COVID.
181 attempts, 712 yards gained, net 660. He's averaging close to 4 yards a carry, which is not bad at all. 2 TDs, long of 29. He's averaging 73 yards a game.
That's pretty good.
And they're keying on him.
Yeah, they are.
I think, I honestly think Elijah is a guy that he's a specialty guy. I've talked to the Robert Morris coaches who think that he might have a shot to get into a training camp after his senior year or second senior year.
Kick returner?
Kick returner or a specialty back or something like. I would love to see it. I mean, the kid works his tail off. And we're just super proud of him as both as a football player and as a young man.
Yeah, he's a high quality individual, and I love having him around here. And again, we talked about this. Just as he was finding himself with us on Wednesdays, we lost him for football.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get him back and he can give us some hot takes as the Pittsburgh Steelers season spirals out of control.
He's third in the entire league in all-purpose yards.
Yeah, he had another like 250 receiving. So he had a good year.
Is second in the conference in rushing.
That's solid. That's solid, and he missed a game.
That's what I'm saying. He should be an all-conference back this year.
Yeah, he missed a game, and they had a game canceled. So he probably would, if they played it out, he probably would have been close to 1,000.
Yep.
So a full season next year, if the offensive line can get him a little bit of room, I think that he can. I think he can get across the 1,000-yard marker. And first trip up to Robert Morris for a football game. I've been to basketball games, but
did you see Bobby Moe? Is he there?
The
mascot,
whatever
yeah.
they call him. Yeah,
Yeah, Bobby Moe.
Yeah, he gave me a fist bump when he was walking by me, and yeah, I like the mascot.
Steely McBean tried to give me a fist pump when we were at the Lebo game, but I was working and I wasn't gonna give him. I had like two cameras worth about
on you,
like
yeah.
$14,000, so I wasn't taking my hands off of it to give McBean. I love you, McBean, but
you're not getting
you're not getting a
the
fist
love
bump at that time. So.
No, come back after the game.
And he was a little ticked off about that. So,
I'm working, man. I'm working.
all right, let's talk a little Pitt.
All right.
I just said to you, we're gonna have to get some Pitt music going into this segment. The Pitt football and Pitt basketball going in entirely different directions right now. I hats off to Pat Narduzzi. I'm obviously not happy with losing to Western Michigan. I thought they did get beat by Miami. You beat Western Michigan right now. You're 11-1.
Yeah.
And you're probably top 10 in the country, at least knocking on the door to get into the national conversation. That being said, they're 10-2. They won the Coastal Division, and I think they got a heck of a shot this weekend to beat Wake Forest to win the ACC outright. And that would be a fantastic year for the Pitt Panthers.
You couldn't ask for much better, like you said. That Western Michigan would have been the one you would have loved to have had back. But hey, listen, if they're 10-2, if they win the ACC and finish the season 11-2, if you're an alumnus, if you're a Pitt fan, if you're Coach Narduzzi, you have to be extremely satisfied with the way this season went. They put out, a dominating performance to beat Syracuse on the last day of the season in a game that they could have taken the foot off the gas. And they could have very easily said, "Listen, we're not going to get anybody hurt. We're going to rest up for next week. We'll play the starters for a half, and if we lose, who cares?"
That's a tough thing to do, though, when you have a guy like Kenny Pickett.
You're not going to do it. No,
I read earlier today, a friend of mine, Josh Roundtree, who does some work with the Fan. He's the play-by-play guy for Pitt women's basketball. Used to be our play-by-play guy at Carlo, and he does great work for Trib Live, calling high school games. Kenny Pickett actually was named the ACC Player of the Year, and couldn't ask for a more deserving guy.
No.
Comes back this year. They said, hey, last year I believe they were saying, you might get drafted in the 6th round. Why don't you come back? I actually think the Manning brothers. He went to camp and they kind of told him, your best bet is going back to Pitt this year, kill it this year, and see what you can do to get your draft status up.
First round pick.
Yeah. Everybody can agree, I think, right now that he's probably the top quarterback pick in the upcoming draft. I'd love to see the Steelers get him, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole throw the season to get Kenny Pickett idea. I mean, or the highest. I said, highest draft pick possible. If it's not Pickett, highest pick possible kind of thing.
Look
But
up mock drafts right now and kind of see where some of the experts are thinking, like where the Steelers going to be drafting right now. If the
probably
season ended today.
Somewhere in the middle. My guess would be somewhere in the range of.
Yeah, Ryan Wilson on CBS just put one up. I'm going to see. Obviously, he has the Lions picking number 1.
Wow.
Let's see where the Steelers are at right now, according to him. And none of this really matters. It's more just kind of fun. He has Kenny Pickett going round 1, draft pick 12 to the Atlanta Falcons.
He could be in play depending on how the Steelers finish the season.
And he has the Steelers picking at 16th and picking up Tyler Lindenbaum, junior offensive lineman out of Iowa. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, that doesn't help me right now.
No.
I would rather have a makeshift line in 3. I'm not going to get back into the Steelers, but I'd rather have a makeshift line that you can pick up some old vets or some guys
around a young
scrap
quarterback.
Heap. Yeah, free up some cap room, get rid of Ben, and see what you can do. Even if you bring in give Mason Rudolph a year, see what he can do.
See what he can do. Yeah,
get a QB in the draft, let him develop a little bit. And have maybe you have 2 bad years. That's cool. You're still going to pick up some players. So,
yeah.
But going back to what we're talking about, I would love to see Pitt finish the season 11-2, get into Who do they play if they win the ACC? We talked about.
Oh,
this,
we had
but
talked
haven't really
about
figured
this.
it out.
ACC champion. It has to be a New Year's game. ACC bowl projections. Let's see. Oh, I don't know how this would work. There's all these different bowls they could play in.
Well, they're not going to be a top. They're not in the top 4.
No, they're not in the top 4, but they should still have a fairly good game.
Yeah.
That would be in front of them. Atlantic representative. Typically, the ACC champion is the Orange Bowl. So the Orange Bowl is a playoff game this year. They believe here this is from, I guess, some Boston College fan site from 2 weeks ago. They were thinking Pitt goes to the Fiesta Bowl or the Peach Bowl.
I think you're pretty satisfied with the Sporting News. Pretty credible. Organization. They put up one yesterday, and I'm going to see. This is Bill Bender. He put up one just yesterday about what he's seeing here. So I'm going to see if I can find if he has Pitt in here anywhere. I'm thinking it's a New Year's one, right?
Yeah, it's got to be. I would imagine it has to be somewhere around New Year's. One of those games, either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. They would end up in one of the showcase bowls.
Yeah, he actually has Peach Bowl.
His
prediction would be. It would be December 30th, Chick-fil-A, Peach Bowl, Ole Miss, and Pitt.
I
would love to see that game. That is
yeah.
a battle of two fantastic quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Good.
I would love it. And I'll give Pitt I'll give him a chance in that one. So now you're talking
12 wins.
and 2.
I mean,
okay? And on top of that, and me and you've personally talked about this, what Pitt did really well this year is they really highlighted their offense. So now you finish 12-2. In theory, you win the ACC. Kenny Pickett's out the door, but in today's transfer portal,
there will be talent on the table.
Yeah, you say if you're Mark Whipple, if you're the Pitt offensive coordinator,
the extra year is here.
Hey,
yeah,
why don't you come over here and play for Pitt? Look what we did this year with our quarterback. Look what we could do for you. The guy that I would love to see come to Pitt, and I tweeted about this, is the quarterback leaving Oklahoma.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that would be the pickup to get. Yeah, and I think more so than the kind of high school recruiting path this year, a lot of the major programs are going to take the fifth, sixth year senior to bridge a gap.
Great name too, Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, it'd be a great.
Hey, Spence, why don't you come over to Pitt? Let us do what we did for Kenny Pickett for you.
You'll be a top 10 draft
you
pick.
Could probably be a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah, and if you get a quarterback like that to come over, then there's some fifth-year receivers that'll come over too.
Yep.
And with that extra year, this is the year again where I think a lot of schools are going to use transfers.
Redshirt sophomore too, so we'd have 2 more years.
2 more years. So yeah, a lot of these schools are going to use transfers. This year, there's so many of them out there, where they have the extra year of eligibility. You could go out and get a transfer lineman who started in the SEC for 3 years that is right on the fringe of the NFL, and this extra year could put him there. So you could go get some serious talent, and I think that would be a good way to reload for a school like Pitt. While you try to figure out what life's going to be after Kenny Pickett, you could buy yourself a year or two.
I agree. Hey, why don't we take a quick break and come back, talk some Pitt basketball?
Whoa.
Yeah, jeez. Before we do that, I wanted to talk. We did talk a little earlier about our friends at Quick Trip IV. I also wanted to talk on the sports show today. Company that we just started working with, Grip Spritz out of Cleveland, Ohio. If you are a high school, college, grade school, AAU team, volleyball, basketball, whatever you're doing on a court, you got to check these guys out. Grip Spritz. It's a fantastic
I love the product.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. I'm like, guys, you got to send me down a couple more things. Basically, the way I can describe it, and you've seen it, is it's almost in a massive type of sponge, and you put this liquid that they've developed onto the sponge. The athletes step onto the sponge, and your feet are gripping to the court.
Yep.
And in today's day and age, with particularly around here in Western Pennsylvania and where they're out of in Cleveland, Ohio. It's getting to be wintertime. You got people, coming in.
Shuffling through the gym,
through the gym. You want every opportunity that you can have to make sure that you have a great grip when you're playing the sport of basketball, volleyball. Give yourself that advantage. I can't think of a better opportunity this year for your sports team to give them that advantage than trying this product out. And it's an affordable product. It's not like, they're asking for
hundreds of dollars.
$140.
Yeah.
You try it out. It's not going to break the bank. Try them out. Grip Spritz.
All right, we'll be back with more after this on Three Rivers Broadcasting.
Are you looking for a job that can turn into a career? If so, why don't you hit the road with Waste Management? Waste Management is hiring experienced and entry-level CDL truck drivers and technicians. If you're at least 18 years of age, come join our growing team and get up to a $7,000 sign-on bonus based on experience. WM offers competitive pay and industry-leading benefits, including tuition reimbursement for yourself and dependents. Start your tomorrow today. Visit WM online at careers.wm.com. Protect yours and provide for others with the Polish Falcons of America. If you could get great life insurance and make an impact in your community, why wouldn't you? You can do both by choosing the Polish Falcons of America. The PFA provides life insurance and financial services while also giving back to the people we serve by reinvesting our profits into communities. If you're thinking about life insurance, it's time to think differently. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting PolishFalcons.org. Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it for 500 years.
All right, we're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Alex and Andrew with you. Time to take a depressing show and make it even worse.
Oh, jeez.
As the Pitt
I
basketball
always laugh
team.
about that because people will always ask me, and you're like, why are you guys so negative? Like, well, we talk sports. What do you want us to do? Everything can't be positive all the time.
We're talking about Pittsburgh sports in 2021. It's a negative situation.
Yeah, I mean, we have some positive stuff going on. We just talked about Pitt.
Pitt football, a great year.
Yeah, I'm really happy. We're going to get into Penguins have been playing very, very well lately, but we got to keep it real here. And one of the teams that we got to keep it real about, and we kind of been bashing them, and we're going to continue until they start figuring it out. Pitt men's basketball. They dropped a heartbreaker yesterday to Minnesota. They had the game won. I'd say less than a minute left. They give up I think 2-3 buckets at the end. Guy tips one in basically with
buzzer
2
beater,
seconds,
yeah.
and they can't get it at the end. And just another game. Minnesota came in there and took Pitt lightly. I think they were 5-0 coming into the game.
Yeah, they definitely overlooked them.
They overlooked them. Pitt had a chance to win it, and they just can't do it. And they played the game. I'll give Capel credit. They played the type of game they have to play. They can't score, so they played a really sloppy defensive, game in the 50s. And, Minnesota still figured out a way to win. Good teams figure out ways to win games like that.
They do. That's now 3 losses in a row for Pitt. 5 on the season. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to UMBC, who's UMBC's 4-2, but it's UMBC.
UMBC beat the crap. UMBC should not be beating Pitt at Pitt in an ACC school.
No, they should not. And then Minnesota gets them yesterday. It's just not. We've talked about it. It's gonna be a long year. It's gonna be a very, very long year.
I don't know. One of our great sponsors, one of my favorite names of our sponsors, the Guard Market. I would be great if we can contact the guard market and see if they can actually can they get Pitt some guards?
I think they need them. They really need them. Yeah, they really need some guards.
This is Jeff Capel. I see it's the guard market. Can I get like a point guard and a couple of shooting guards that can shoot and see what the guard market
can do for them? I think they could use them. They could definitely use some help from the guard market. Listen, Pitt's got Virginia coming up in 2 days. They're gonna lose. I'm not gonna mince words. They're gonna lose, and then after that is Colgate, who on paper they should beat them. Again,
there's a lot of teams on paper already beat,
but Colgate beat Syracuse, so
yeah,
you can't count them out. Monmouth's 5-1. Monmouth's gonna beat Pitt. Monmouth's going to come in here. They just beat Cincinnati. Monmouth's probably going to beat them.
Didn't just beat Syracuse. They
beat them up. 15. Yeah, they won by
beat them up. And I'll shout out to Nelly Cummings, a kid from our area who went to Lincoln Park. He's from Midway. So, but he had 18 points in that game. He's been playing very, very well for Colgate. So I'm sure Nelly coming into Pittsburgh is going to love to say, hey,
you missed on me.
You missed on me.
That's right.
And so I'm rooting for Nelly, to a Midway kid, to come out there and drop some points on the Panthers.
I think he will. And again, we were saying they could have 9 or 10 losses by New Year's, because I think, listen, St. John's is going to be heavily favored against Pitt. Monmouth is no slouch. Again, fans are like, oh, it's Monmouth. Listen, Monmouth's good.
Yep.
So they can handle them. That Notre Dame game's going to be a toss-up.
Here's the thing, and maybe we haven't discussed. Actually, I know we have discussed this, but I want to make this very clear. Pitt obviously does not have the talent this year for a variety of reasons.
No.
Injuries, transfers.
No, they don't.
It had all those guys come back, had the transfers not happen, had the injuries not happen. They're a competitive ACC team. I don't have any doubts about that. And Capel did recruit some good players. The problem is those guys are not sticking around. And at the end of the day, when you're a $3 million man, I think that's what we saw he's making a year, like over $3 million.
You can't be losing guys.
You just can't lose guys that you need to have to win games. The other dynamic, and I've talked about this, is you have to be willing to figure out a way to win in the ACC without getting the guys that Duke and North Carolina and Syracuse are getting. What's that mean? Well, it means you probably are going to have to take high-end mid-major players or high-level JUCO players and get them to come in and kind of sell the University of Pittsburgh as a place that can get you to go play pro. And we might not be talking about the NBA. We might be talking about playing over in Europe and making a lot of money over in Europe.
Yep.
But you have to kind of figure out what that is, that identity, and who are those type of players that you're going to bring in. You've talked about it in the past. Pitt has always, in years past, when they were successful, they had a pipeline to New York City. They brought in guys like Carl Krauser.
Yep.
He wasn't from New York City, but they brought in Chevy Troutman from out
that way,
other side of Pennsylvania.
Other side of Pennsylvania,
they got these bruiser ACC banger players. DeJuan Blair
was from here in Pittsburgh.
And those guys fit that model of what Pitt was all about. Pitt, in my opinion right now, they don't really have an identity of, hey, if I go to Pitt, we're going to play this type of basketball and this is what it's going to look like.
They don't know what they are right now. They don't. I think that's one of their big problems. And then, again, you talk about the pipeline issues that have come up since Jamie Dixon left. It was a different program then too, because the Big East, I think it was a little different talent level that they were after. At the ACC, you need to be getting the elite players, I think, if you want to be at the top of it. But as you said, I think you make a good point. Can you steal? I don't even know. I don't even want to say steal it. It's like, can you out recruit Dayton to get the top?
Should be able
to get the top players from Dayton.
Yeah.
To come to Pitt.
Yeah.
Like the top A-10 guys, from those types of programs where, look a couple of years ago when Dayton made that big run. I mean, those are the kind of guys that Pitt needed on their team.
Yes.
And they don't have them.
Oh, you probably said this. I was looking up stats, so I apologize if I missed this. But Monmouth right now is 5-1 with wins at Towson.
Uh-huh.
At Towson, who beat Pitt.
Yep.
And they also beat St. Joe's and Princeton, which are no slouch programs.
Yep. And then went to Cincinnati
and beat Cincinnati.
And beat Cincinnati,
And beat Cincinnati. So that is not by any means going to be an easy game for Pitt.
No, King Rice has he's got a pretty good team. He's got some transfers, and they're going to be tough.
Some size too.
He does.
He's
got
6'11", 6'9", 6'10",
Yeah.
6'8". They have
MAC,
some big boys
listen,
on that team.
the MAC is a tough conference. Always has been.
Yeah.
So, Pitt now has to win all of their remaining non-conference games, the last 4, to not have a losing record outside the ACC. And they're going to have a losing record in it.
I'm on Monmouth's website. And, at the bottom of every athletic website, they always have all their conference affiliations. MAC for basketball.
Big South for football, yep.
American East for who knows what. Maybe cross country.
Cross country,
and then
hockey.
The MEAC for bowling. If you want to cover all bases,
man, that's the way to go to Monmouth.
And they used to be in the
NEC. Yeah, they used to be in
the
the NEC. Yeah, Monmouth used to be in the NEC. Nice. It's a nice campus too. It's a beautiful school. It's down by the beach. It's
your neck of the woods.
Yeah, it's a sellable. It's definitely a sellable school. They have a newer, I guess, new-ish arena. I don't want to say brand new. I think it's like 6 or 7 years old, but they built something that's similar to Duquesne. What they have down there.
I'm looking at Ocean First.
Whatever, Ocean Bank, whatever it is. Yeah,
nice.
it's a nice place. Yeah, they play some of the high school games there.
Nice too,
yeah, the stadium's nice down there. Monmouth, they got a nice little place. But again, Pitt's got to be careful. Or the wheels are already teetering. They could come off the bus here in the next 2 weeks if they lose. If they lose to Monmouth, if they lose to St. John's, you're going to lose to Virginia. If they lose to Notre Dame, you lose 5 games going into the new year, you're in big trouble.
Let me ask you this. This is something that I've kind of always found interesting as a coach. When you don't do your job at the small college or the high school level, and you're at a high profile program, you're probably part time or not making that much money. People
Right.
are calling for your head.
Yeah.
When did this whole dynamic of you're making tons of money?
We
at a
need to give you
big-time
more
program?
time.
Yeah,
No.
like for the Steelers, for Pitt, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas, if you don't get your job done, they want you out.
They want you out.
When did this whole give them more time thing start? I don't get that. If you're making that type of money and you're not delivering, first off, you're not going to be found out on the street after you lose your job. You're a multimillionaire. You're going to be good.
Yeah.
If you're not getting it done in 3, 4, 5 years, it's time to leave and let somebody else do the job for the amount of money you're making.
Well, and I think with the amount of money involved, the way that this has to work is that for the coach, you don't walk away. You wait until they can you so you could get the the parachute payment.
Here's a prime example, and we've talked about this on the show before. LSU football. Okay.
100 is it Kelly rumored $100 million contract?
And he won a national championship 2 years ago. And he's an alumnus.
Yeah.
They wanted him out in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Lincoln Riley is going to be going to USC. How many championships did Lincoln Riley win at Oklahoma?
0. Yeah.
He's going to USC for like buku bucks. They're paying for his 2 houses. They're buying him a $6 million house in LA, and he's also getting access to a private jet whenever he wants.
How do the taxpayers of? Well, I guess they don't. At this point, the taxpayers of California don't care. They pay everything anyway.
They pay $7 gas. But,
but
that being said, like if you're USC,
I would be upset about that.
Me too. I would.
If I was an alumnus or a donor to
the
the
highest
school,
paid employees at Pitt are the head football coach and head basketball.
It's in most states now.
Yeah.
The highest paid public employee is either a men's or women's basketball coach or the head football coach
if you're USC,
at a college.
You say, hey Lincoln, I'm going to give you 3-4 years, and if you don't get it done, you're out of here. Now he's not. Who cares? Like the amount of money that guy's making, he can take care of his family the rest of his life just for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So people need to realize these coaches don't live in the same world that me and you live in. They're not doing the 9 to 5 grind every day and all that type of stuff. it's big money for big responsibility and big pressure.
Yeah, and for a shorter period of time, they work 16 hours a day.
Exactly, but you're rewarded for it. So if you don't produce, you need to go.
Yeah, listen, LSU. Look at LSU. They went, 6-6, got rid of Orgeron mid-season.
Yeah,
and paid him out. I mean,
so he's done. Like he's not actually coaching.
He's
right
done.
now.
No, he's done. It's 25.
I'm not a big SEC follower.
It's 25 million for they're paying him out.
25 mil. So
Yeah,
he never has to work a day in his life again. He's done.
I think it's 25 million through 2025. It's like $600,000 a month.
Yeah.
That the state of Louisiana is paying him. And I think that's important, again, to note, too, that this isn't, yes, there's huge endowments from donors and this and that. But at the end of the day, the taxpayers of Louisiana are paying that. Yeah. And that's where I think there should be more pressure on, specifically at the public universities. Like, wait a minute, time out. Why are we paying these public school coaches $5 million a year?
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's insane.
It is absolutely insane. Even the most successful ones. And I can understand why people would justify Nick Saban. They're like, oh, he gets $6 million a year because Alabama football makes the university, $200 million a year. I understand that argument. But at the end of the day, these coaches are getting paid a lot of money. And there are some schools paying a lot of money that are just never going to be football schools.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you hire. Arizona is one of those schools. They kind of had a little run, but they were 1-11 this year. They're back to being Arizona football and stinking. And they're probably paying a coach $3-4 million.
Yep.
And I think with that too, there are too many. I think the expectations need to be tempered on some of these programs too. Football wise, more so than basketball, because basketball you only need 5 kids.
So I'll give you. I found this on OpenPayrolls.com for the University of Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
The top 2 employees. Actually, I'll give this to you. You'll be interested in this. Narduzzi is the highest paid employee.
There's no surprise there.
$4,730,000 a year.
Okay.
Jeff Capel is next at $3,460,000 a year. I don't know who David Thaw is. Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay. Steve, he's making $1 million. Steve Watson, whoever that is,
they have to be.
Makes over $1 million.
I would imagine there's some type of high ups in the the university, like provost or whatever. Yeah, I don't.
Interesting. Heather Like is the athletic director. Okay, She's making $756,000 a year.
It's a lot of money.
Athletic director, and the 8th most compensated employee at Pitt is the women's basketball coach Lance White, who's making $612,000 a year.
It's a lot of money being thrown around in intercollegiate athletics.
Yep.
I mean, people live in big lifestyles off of intercollegiate athletics at the top level. And now you should also make that clear. Down at the Division III level, that's not how things work. But at the elite level, this is what it is.
If I remember correctly, Patrick Gallagher, I believe, was the chancellor of Pitt.
Yeah,
I think he still is.
Okay.
I don't even see him in the
top 20,
top 10.
Yeah.
So
it's mostly athletic.
Mark Whipple, the offensive coordinator for Pitt, he is 20th, making $476,000 a year. That's big time money.
It is.
And I know it's keeping up with the Joneses and all that type of stuff, but at the end of the day, you have to produce. You have to win. And if you're not getting the job done, your job's going to be on the line. And I think we're at the point now with Jeff Capel where you maybe get him through this year. You maybe go one more year with him and say, okay, this is the last year. The seat is very hot for you, buddy. If you don't win this year, or at least, compete, you're done.
You're done.
And that's, I probably want to get rid of him this year just due to circumstances.
Yeah, I have one more year.
Yeah, because
1 year.
This is year 4, and like I said, I'm usually a 5-year guy.
That's one cycle.
You say, hey, listen, you had injuries, you had guys transfer, you had to deal with COVID. I get it. We're going to give you one more year, and if you don't do it, Sorry, you're out of here.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
No, I agree. I think that's
Here, I'll give you a couple of names I would love to see come to Pitt.
okay.
Okay, first and foremost, I've said this before. I'd love to see Sean Miller come back.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great. I think he'd be a great hire.
FBI,
Yeah.
This, who cares? What has happened at Arizona? How many people have gone down in this FBI probe? None.
None.
The
Yeah.
other guy I would love to see would be Brandon Knight.
Yeah.
Brandon Knight is a Pitt guy.
He's a Pitt guy. Yeah.
He really started kind of the whole, Pitt, excuse me, coming back into national prominence. Has been involved in coaching now for quite some time. I believe right now he's still at the college level.
He'd be a great hire here.
I think Brandon Knight would be fantastic. So that would be two head coaches. If you bring in Sean Miller, you might have a chance to bring in Archie as an associate
head coach, yeah.
which would be great. But those are two guys right off the bat that I think you can say, hey, I might be interested in two Pitt guys coming back to Pittsburgh and give them an opportunity to play.
If they have a good year this year and can replicate it again, what about King Rice?
Yeah.
From Monmouth. I mean, the program, he went up. It looked like it was going to go the other way on him, and he pulled it back. And they're 5-1 this year, so you could consider a guy like that. And again, I know you and I both agree. Maybe give Capel one more year. Does that contradict what we just said about like pull the plug on these guys? But
I think there's a financial dynamic involved in it. You gave him this contract extension. I really don't want to be paying him and Kevin Stallings at the same time not to work.
No, and that's whatever. I think a lot of people don't think about
Brandon
either.
Knight right now is at Rutgers as an
assistant coach. Okay.
For assistant coaches, 39 years old, so
he's
put the
ready.
time in. Yeah, he's ready. I think I would give him a shot. I think you need to get a Pitt guy into Pitt right now to understand how to win there.
Yeah,
and you have to have somebody that had played that Pitt style, that rugged, old school, duke it out. I think that can work in the ACC. Everybody else in the ACC wants to play kind of like an NBA pro style. If you have, here comes Pitt, they're gonna, Syracuse's style is translated.
Yeah, they're gonna just
you play the zone.
You're gonna just fight.
Yep.
Yeah. It's gonna be a scrappy team. Yeah, they may not be the biggest, they may not have the fastest guards, but they're gonna make you work, and we're gonna beat you in the post. And yeah,
before we close on our Pitt basketball segment here, how do you think Jamie Dixon would be doing had he still stayed here and we didn't run him out of town?
I think Pitt would probably be one of the top teams in the ACC.
Really?
I do. I think the cupboard was getting a little bare, and he knew it. So I think that he was, in a way, I think he was okay. He was okay leaving.
He's 5-1 right now at TCU.
So I think that they would probably be top half of the ACC. I don't know if they'd be elite, but I think they'd certainly be a tournament team on the regular, if not every year. I think that
he's doing
and he had
TCU. He's doing his usual stuff he did at Pitt. They played McNeese, Southern Miss, Nichols,
same schools,
Santa Clara, Pepperdine.
So you say
and Austin Peay.
Little
So
sisters of the poor. Yeah,
really good. But Jamie Dixon was smart in knowing you got to get wins where you can get them and give these guys some confidence going in the conference play. I tend to agree with you. I don't think they're going to be maybe upper half, but I think if he was here, they would still be competing every year to get into the NCAA tournament. They weren't that good last year. TCU was 12-14.
It was a weird year.
Weird year. The year before that, they were 16-16, but competed in the conference 7-11. So he's been okay. He's been around 500 in the Big 12, which is a tough basketball conference. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to see how things would still be if he was still here, how he would have adjusted.
That's really an interesting question. Again, I think because I liked him when he was here, and I like the program that he built, I think they would have been all right.
Yeah.
I think they would have been in a better stead than being 2-5 right now.
Okay.
I think they would have been 500 or maybe a little bit better than 500. I think he would have clipped off. I think Dixon, with the way he would have played, again, it would have been a totally different team, but he wouldn't have lost to the Citadel by 15 in their first game.
I agree with that.
Wouldn't have lost to the Citadel, wouldn't have beat Towson by 4. Those games, those losses probably wouldn't happen. But hey,
let's take one more quick break. Before we go to break, I want to thank the Polish Falcons of America. Polish Falcons are your source for if you need insurance, any type of insurance, particularly life insurance. If you are looking for just a cool place to hang out,
go to the Nest.
Polish
Yeah,
Falcons. Go check out a Nest. It's a great family-run organization. They really emphasize some of those traditional American values that Alex and I think so highly of. And they're good people to work with. I've reached out to the Polish Falcons to get some quotes on insurance for my family.
Yep.
Great. They're not
Great
trying
rates.
to upsell you on stuff you don't need. And in today's day and age, this is a time where, you might want to get a little extra insurance for your family. So,
and the younger you are, the cheaper the policy is going to be for the monthly payment. I mean, you get in like us in your 30s, you're talking, it's like pennies on the dollar a month. I mean, it's like going to get a couple cups of coffee at Starbucks. It's very affordable.
If I remember correctly, they also have like benefits. You can get a dental vision dynamic.
Yeah, they have a wide variety of kind of financial services.
So
and
you want to check them out, PolishFalcons.org. Tell them that Alex and Andrew from Three Rivers Broadcasting sent you, but you will not be disappointed. When we get back, we're going to talk finally about the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Playing better?
They've kind of shot a puck right in our mouth and said, you guys can take that. So we'll talk about them when we get back right here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report.
Experts say that the most important time in a young child's life is elementary school, and the lessons they learn from kindergarten through 8th grade form the foundation for the rest of their lives. That's where Mother of Mercy Academy excels. For over 70 years, Mother of Mercy has provided a faith-based Catholic education to children in the South Hills. They offer an advanced curriculum, active arts, and full sports program with a Christ-centered experience. Mother of Mercy focuses on molding young minds intellectually, physically, and spiritually. Their goal is for children to become well-rounded individuals who are prepared for the next steps in life. Mother of Mercy Academy is located at the St. Gabriel campus, 5200 Greenridge Drive in the Baldwin section of Pittsburgh. They currently have an open enrollment period and can be reached at 412-882-3353. That's 412-882-3353. Mother of Mercy Academy, for faith, for family, for life.
All right, we're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Alex and Andrew with you, and got to get into a little more positive. Penguins playing better.
Playing well.
They're playing well.
Christian Jarry, hats off to the kid for the last couple of games. He's been standing on his head, and we really said that's what needs to happen for the Penguins to eke out these games. Is you have to have elite level goaltending out of Christian Jarry, and he's been doing it. I mean, he's like I said, he kind of shot a puck into our mouth because.
We were on him 2 weeks ago.
We were on him a lot. And,
yeah.
And I was really ticked off about how he had been playing in the shootouts, but last couple of games, he's really putting the team on his back. They're 10-7-5. They've crept up to fourth place in the Metropolitan Division. Hey, I mean, if he plays like this, they can make a playoff run. So, but, hey, we're only, less than
It's like 20
some games in the
Yeah,
season
it's-
out of 82. There's a lot of hockey to be played.
Yeah, a long way to go, but I think it should be encouraging to the Penguins fans that over the course of the last 2.5 weeks, they did hit a bit of a hot streak. They had won 5 in a row at one point. They dropped the last 2. They lost to Calgary the other day in a shootout, and I guess you could say the home loss to the Canadiens was a little bit of a slip up.
Jordan didn't play that one.
But he didn't play that one, so you can give him a pass.
Man, I'll tell you what.
They did beat the Maple Leafs though, who are having a very good year. So that was, and they did it in. I believe that game was in Toronto. So they've certainly stepped up.
I don't know what's going on with Casey DeSmith. I mean, I know he's not getting as much playing time as you would think, but
No.
He played pretty well in years past, and as a backup goalie, I kind of thought like, okay, yeah, we got a good one here. He's been playing terrible.
Terribly.
He gives up 5-6 goals every game. And
something's
if
not.
that continues, you're going to have to look at, maybe bringing an old vet in down the stretch here, because you need somebody that can give Jari some relief, and you have to get points in these games. You can't get blown out every time you're back.
No,
you're teeing off on this guy.
Especially these days where the days of Mike Richter, Martin Brodeur, those types of Patrick Waugh playing 82 every game, that's over. Where you used to see the backup would play like 9 games a year. Now these guys have to play, like a lot of them, they have to play 20, 25 games.
Yeah.
So you need someone who's capable, that could be who could be a starter. And they got another tough one tonight. They take on the Oilers. That's a late game. It's 10 o'clock. So we'll be out of here before that kicks off. They've got that Western swing right now, because then they go to Vancouver and Seattle. So there's a bunch of late games. So if you're a Penguins fan over the course of the next week, make sure you have the coffee on hand in the morning, because you're gonna have some late nights. But again, they're playing better. I think again, like you said, there's a lot of hockey left to be played, but at least they're out of the basement. They showed some signs of life. They're into a place where at least now there's a long way to go, but you're in the competition for playoff spots now. You're back in the mix.
You're back in the mix, and I think right now, Penguin fans that's kind of all you're asking for right now. I don't think anybody had the Penguins checked off this year to be a Stanley Cup title contender, but I think people want to see the team compete and make a run at the cup, and not the cup, but the playoffs at least, the NHL playoffs. And I think they're putting themselves in a position to do that. And once you get in the playoffs, you get a hot goalie.
Anything can happen. That's I think the goal I think in American sports, for the most part, the goal is to just get across the line in the regular season, because there's so much emphasis put on the playoffs that if you can get across the line, if you're in the top 8, that's all it takes. In hockey, all it takes is a hot goalie, like you said, or in baseball, if you have 2 pitchers that are on, you could be in the NLCS, ALCS just from the backs of 2 pitchers. The way the playoff structure is set up here, it's favorable. So for the Penguins, I don't think Stanley Cup is in the cards. Like the Truth said, I think he was talking about something about.
Admire the Truth's,
he's a hometown guy.
In, yeah.
He's in.
We're more pessimistic, I would think, than the Truth's optimistic. But the Truth will call him out and he'll admit, hey, I got it wrong.
I got it wrong. Yeah, listen, I mean his Battle Gear Steelers rant was, that was great. But maybe now we'll get, the Truth will be on there. We got to get him on here and be like, I told you guys they were going to be good, that they would make the turn. So, again, a quarter of the way through the season at 10-7-5, 4th place in the division, not that far off the pace. I think you should be happy if you're a Penguins fan right now, given the way the season started and the way the last 6 games have gone. I'd be happy too. They've gotten out of the, like I said, they got out of the basement. So good for them. It's going to be a tough road swing coming up again. The West Coast trips are always difficult because the time difference. But if they could get through it with maybe 2 wins, I think the last 2 are probably the easier ones, the Canucks and Seattle.
Yeah.
But can you go 2-2 in that West Coast road swing? If you do, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, I agree. Before we get into our last segment here, I want to thank our terrific partners at the Pennsylvania Football News. We're going to talk a little bit about Pennsylvania football right now and the WPIAL. I don't know if Billy will agree with what we're talking about here in terms of our opinions on it, but if you watch what's going on right now in PIAA and the WPIAL with the playoffs, if you're not checking out Pennsylvania football news, you're crazy, because the coverage they're giving is unbelievable.
They just had their biggest weekend ever as far as hits.
Yeah.
It was Billy sent me the totals. Insane for a 48-hour period that a high school football website could get that much traction. So,
and that's PAFootballnews.com.
Yes, PAFootballnews.com. That's just Pennsylvania. They talk about all of that they have up there is Pennsylvania high school football. And they had the biggest weekend that they've ever had. But listen, Billy's put in a lot of work over the last couple of years to get reporters in every district, in every corner of the state. I'm on the reporter chat because I've done the City League articles and things for them the last 2 years. It was almost like a battle for who was going to take the last 16 games or whatever. It's 12 games in the state where these guys are like, well, no, I'm 5 minutes closer than him. I want to cover that. It's good that he has so many guys now that if you are in Washington County, there's 5 guys down there in Washington County. If you're in District 9, there's another 5 guys covering District 9. So it's wall-to-wall coverage. They've already started the discussions on all state teams and things like that. The academic all-star teams coming out. So check them out, PAFootballnews.com. All the stats, all the scores, the articles, the brackets for the playoffs, schedules, you name it, it's all up there. They cover all the off-season stuff, coaching changes, showcase camps, things like that. That's all on their website. So again, please support them, PAFootballnews.com. And now coming into the final stretch of the season here, we got a couple teams left from our area here in the South.
Well, I want to get
South
before
Hills,
we even get into talking football. We said we're going to talk about it on our Twitter chat. We got to talk first and foremost about the turnout in the District 7 finals at Heinz Field.
We're not alone on that opinion either.
No, we're definitely not after putting it out there.
Mike
White from the Post-Gazette posted that there was 16,800 people or so.
Is that counting the players?
Yeah, well,
right.
Right. Over 5 games at Heinz Field.
The only game that drew was Penn Trafford Moon.
Yeah.
And that the only reason that drew is because half of Harrison City showed up for the game.
Yeah, and people got on me and got on you about the memories and all this garbage. At the end of the day, I'm not interested in kids having a memory of playing at a particular field. I'm interested in a kid having a great experience winning a district championship as a high school football player. And in my opinion, if you want to play at Heinz Field, you better work your butt off to be able to play at the University of Pittsburgh, or even, take that a step further and go play in the pros, okay? Yeah. So I'm not really concerned about playing at Heinz Field. There's plenty of great options here, great stadiums that are tax funded around our area that are great high school venues that are going to be bringing revenue into those high schools and not paying the Pittsburgh Steelers or the stadium commissions and all that type of stuff to play down there.
Heinz Field is a colossal waste of money.
I couldn't agree more.
They had you got to be talking 6 figures.
I would think so.
Loss.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of electricity and cleaning and concessions. And security and every other thing you can imagine.
It is. To me, that is a colossal waste of money to go there. And maybe we're the bad guys for saying this.Maybe Pittsburgh sports fans are like, oh, we've all
guy Eddie Biega.
That bad guy Eddie Biega. That's right. Catch him on Saturdays with the Polka Show. But no, listen, what does it matter to go to Heinz Field? And if I'm going to take myself out of this, and I'm going to put myself in a high school football helmet. I've worked my butt off all season. I've played in front of, and you play in front of smaller crowds, but full stadiums, and there's a little bit of a buzz around, right? And then, come on, kids, let's go, we're going to get them. And then you storm out of the tunnel at Heinz Field, and there's 25 people there. You're coming out of the locker room going, let's go.
Yeah.
Go team. I think that's where
I was happy to see some of the Mount Lebanon parents respond to our question.
Norwin was great.
And say that they really enjoyed playing at Norwin because there was their student section there. It was a high school football game and a feel to it. If anything, and this is my argument, if you want to play a game at a pro stadium in Pennsylvania, it should be for the state championship.
State championship.
And you can
yeah.
go back and forth. It could be in
Philly,
Philadelphia,
Pittsburgh,
every year, whatever you want to do. You want to play for the state championship? Cool. I'm all for it. District championship should be in a district stadium.
Absolutely.
That's my feeling.
I agree, and I took it a step further and said, let's do away with the neutral site stuff. If from a business perspective, the WPIAL, the PIAA, the individual districts, there's more money to be made by letting the higher seed host the game than there is saying, okay, we're going to take Mount Lebanon and Pine Richland. Like, I know they're different classes for football, but let's take Mount Lebanon and North Allegheny, and you're going to play at Gateway, which is an hour from both schools. But that's where we're going to play the game. Or Sarah's going to play Steel Valley at New Brighton. And this is the stuff they do.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And
people are hammering you for saying that the high seed should host.
They earned it.
Yeah, I mean,
the way I look at it is it's two-sided. One, they earned the game. And in a lot of other PIAA districts outside of the WPIAL, that's how it works. Like when I was back in Bethlehem, District 11, if you were the number one seed in District 11, you were home through the district final. The district final would be at your stadium.
Yeah.
And nobody had a problem with it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with giving the higher seed the home game.
I keep saying that I think one reason so many WPIAL District 7 teams don't produce the way they probably should in the PIAA states is because we've put such a high pedestal on winning the district. You're basically, okay, we're going to play in the Steelers Stadium, and then next week we're going to play in a high school stadium.
Right, you're going back to Altoona.
And it's like, okay. So...
And the media
winning
is
the district is important. Winning the state is the
more
goal.
Important. Yeah, there's two more to go. And that's one thing I liked about going to Lebo's last two games. Bob Palco and his staff, specifically after the Central Catholic game, were preaching that this isn't the end. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
There, you've won. You got the ketchup packet. And the assistant who was saying this, he's like, I know we didn't go to Heinz, but he's like, we talked about before the season. The ketchup doesn't matter. The chocolate bar is what we want.
That.
And he's right. The coach was right. It's great to win your section, but I think the Pittsburgh media and the Pittsburgh high school sports community puts too much of an emphasis on Heinz Field and Peterson Event Center.
I fully agree.
Way too much.
Fully agree.
Where it's like the road to Heinz, the march. Who cares about Heinz? There's two more games that you got to win to get to Hershey.
I had a coach friend of mine, I put that whole thing up. He said, the road to South Fayette doesn't sound as good as the road at Heinz. And I said, well, how about a road to the
Hershey,
district championship?
The district championship.
How about a road to winning the district championship, regardless where it's at? And then, the road to Hershey or the road to
Penn State,
Philadelphia or Pittsburgh in terms of winning the state. So, as a coach, maybe I look at things differently because I'm about winning. I'm about teaching kids. It's about the bigger.
It's bigger
here than just winning. I'd rather be big in my entire state than to be big in just my local area. And that's kind of the way you're looking at it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that and I think that could be a good shift if they were to leave Heinz Field and go to the kind of the neutral site or the neutral site district final at a high school, or just play it out at the higher seed. And I know for the broadcasters, it's going to make their lives a little more of a headache, but you know what? You figure out how to do it, or you pick a high school neutral site where you could play, a couple of games where there's turf. And you do it. I don't think going to Heinz Field and wasting all that money, where most of the games didn't have attendance that went past 1,500 to 2,000 anyway. The smaller schools.
I always like when people say, well, maybe it's because of the weather. It's always cold in November. Look at the years past. This was actually one of the bigger years in terms of attendance.
But that's it. And I think the other thing, to look at too, they compared it to, I forget what year they pulled. It was like 2001 or something. They pulled in 2001 there were 39,000 fans that showed up. And what I want to know is who played that year that brought 20,000 extra fans for 2 fewer games.
Yeah.
What schools were in that set of 4 games in the WPIAL finals that had what future NFL player that everybody said, I'm going to go see him play one more time?
Good question.
I want to know who was in that game. And I know people say high school attendances have dropped off and kids don't come to games anymore, which is true. Kids more kids go to the mall than go to the game anymore. It's a shame.
If they go to the mall, I think they're just on video games.
They're playing video games. Yeah, you're right. They don't even go to the mall anymore. No, they play video games. But attendance has dropped. Well, that means maybe it's time to rethink Heinz Field. If you're only getting 16,000 and 7,000 of it comes from one game and 5,000 from one school, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? No, because you could go to a high school stadium and fill it. The Canevin Olsch game downtown didn't get that many people. You play the game at Dormont Stadium on a Friday night, maybe there's 1,000 people that show up.
Good point. Very good point.
I think that there could have been a better way to do it. But, real quick, we should probably just run through. Mount Lebanon won 2 weeks ago. They beat Central Catholic. They thumped McDowell last weekend.
So it wasn't an upset.
Not an upset. No, it wasn't an upset. Listen, I said this too. If
McDowell would have beat Mount Lebanon, for those of you that were talking, McDowell beating Mount Lebanon is not an upset. McDowell is one of the most storied programs
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. They know how to win games.
Yeah, they won 9 games this year against probably one of the toughest schedules in the state, maybe the toughest schedule in the state. And for me, it was the game that showed me that Mount Lebanon's the real deal, and they deserve their ranking. Central Catholic, the blowout of Central Catholic was kind of step 1 for me, where I said, okay, these guys are for real. And then when they blew out McDowell last week, I was like, okay, this is a top 2, top 3 team in Pennsylvania. And they've got State College this Saturday at Mansion Park. State College is 8-5. State College pulled off an upset against 12-1 Harrisburg. I think it's very safe to say that Mount Lebanon will be the favorite to go to Hershey.
Mount Lebanon, we saw this early on in the season. In my opinion, they're obviously on our side of the state.
The best team. Yeah.
How they do that against the other side of the state remains to be seen. But man, are they a good? They're a good basketball.
Listen, they got a good basketball team too.
I'm thinking, of Joey David right now, but yeah,
hey,
they're a very good athletic.
It's getting to be his time of year. I'm sure he's probably a little nervous about it. Am I going to miss a few kids for the start of the season?
Good point. Yeah, good point.
Joey David. I want to, Joey David deep down inside, his subconscious is probably like, go State College, go State College. I need my point guard.
By the way, I have to point out before we wrap up the show here, one of my favorite schools that I just found out about playing in the state. I think they're playing Central Valley. Maybe you'll know all this that I won't. Jersey Shore. What a name for a PA school.
Jersey Shore. They play Aliquippa.
Yeah, is Mike the Situation going to show up to the game?
Hey, you bet.
Paulie D.
Yeah, I don't know. Jersey Shore is a little town outside of Williamsport.
Not what I'm thinking.
It's along the river there outside of Williamsport. But I guess, listen, Jersey Shore must be all right. They beat Allentown Central Catholic, then they beat Meadville. They must be okay. I don't know too much about them, but Aliquippa will be favored in that game, and then there's going to be as good as the Quips are, there will be a tall order on the other side in the Quad A final. It's either going to be Bishop Shanahan from Downingtown, who's had a very, very good year, or perennial powerhouse Bishop McDevitt from Harrisburg in Quad A. That's going to be tough. And for Lebo, I think should beat State College. That final that'll be another kind of tall order game. It's either going to be St. Joe's Prep out of Philadelphia or Garnett Valley, who has had one of those seasons. In their playoff games, they've hung 42, 41, 58, and 54 points. Yep. They beat a good Coatesville team 54-15 last week. So and their coach is retiring this year. So the kids are certainly
chomping at the
bit. So
win one for the Gippers.
It is. It's a win-1 for the Gipper. Penn Trafford plays Exeter Township from the Reading area. That game is at Bald Eagle coming up on the weekend. The winner of that game will take on either Imhotep Charter from Philadelphia or Strathaven. I know Imhotep has gotten some heat this year and in the past few years, maybe more heat than some of the Catholic schools for transfers.
We can talk about that coming up, about how transfers work, not just at the Catholic school level, but are happening all over the place.
Yeah, and then I'll just run through the rest of them. Central Valley plays Martinsburg. It's Central High School. Billy made it very clear that it's just Central High School.
Just Central.
Never mind. I took up the other position that we should differentiate, just like we did with Morgantown with University, because there's Pittsburgh Central Catholic, who we call Central. There's Allentown Central Catholic, who they call Central. There's Philadelphia Central, who they call Central in Philadelphia. So I think it's important to
Wheeling Central Catholic,
which is called Central, right? And so you have Central Valley against Central of Martinsburg, and then Wyomissing and Newman Goretti on the other side. There's a worst case scenario here for the Catholic school haters in Pennsylvania, where all 6 of them could be Catholic schools. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because I think Southern Columbia will win AA. Sarah Catholic takes on Farrell, should be a good game, and then Canavan takes on Red Bank.
Give me Farrell in that one.
Farrell did beat Westinghouse fairly convincingly. Yeah. I could see that. The game, I think a lot will depend on the play of Farrell Fisher.
The
for
most
Sarah.
Promising and successful Steelers in our area this year.
Yes,
Farrell.
they are. Farrell. Yeah, Farrell Steelers are the most successful Steelers here. And then lastly, in Class A, I think you're probably looking at a Catholic school final. I think Canavan should beat Red Bank Valley, and then Bishop Guilfoyle will probably beat Canton, and then they toss that up when they go to Hershey. But good chance that you could see 4 or 5 WPIAL schools in the state finals this year. So,
well, Alex, I placed an order on Chick-fil-A. I got to get dinner over to the family, so I wanted to just wrap this up by thanking our amazing sponsors. The Guard Market reported Gym Rat Performance Training, Lawrence Repair, Pennsylvania Football News, Steel City Grease Traps, Carnegie Ironworks, Mother of Mercy Academy, Waste Management, Polish Falcons of America, Quick Drip IV, Grip Spritz, and hopefully you contact us at threeriversbroadcasting.com. We want you to advertise with us. It's not just for the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. We're talking all of our programming. We're looking for title sponsors. We're looking for studio sponsors. You also have an opportunity to get involved in our music coverage and religious coverage, all here at Three Rivers Broadcasting.
All right. Hey, listen, great show. I think we hit all the topics. It's been a great hour and a half. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll catch you here next week. We'll talk a little bit more. Hopefully the Steelers won't lose too bad, and we'll tell you what's going to go on in the state finals and another loss for Pitt.
We'll see you guys. Have a good evening. Take care.
Have a good evening.